Hey everybody, this is a little bit of an early stream just because kind of the breaking news, and also, well, is it really breaking news? It's news, not so much breaking, maybe, who knows, whatever. But we do have a bunch of things kind of going on news-wise. We'll do the day after for Fiorentina as well. German Dave will join me momentarily, unfortunately, just due to this last-minute adjustment for scheduling. But I think it's going to be the one thing that we're going to want to open up here, so I will share my screen. If you haven't and you've been living under a rock, you'll be surprised to hear this, but Fabrizio Romano and Romeo Agresti are both saying that Max Allegri expected to leave Juventus at the end of the season. We don't, I think it kind of dropped earlier last night, this morning-esque, 7:15 Central European time. So roughly about a couple hours ago, the news broke that Allegri is expected to leave at the end of the season. Just because what's happened in the last 2.5 months, there has been a whole lot of chatter of who should be the manager at the end of the season. So going off of the scope of the season, from essentially, I think this is what Romano is quoting. So from going to essentially a Scudetto challenger to crashing into the top 4 race, air quotes, has quickly seen Max has gotten the season a little less well secure. Does that mean Allegri is about to head out even if there's still a year left in his contract? Fabrizio says by speaking on his latest podcast episode of Here We Go, Romano has outlined that he believes from sources that he has spoken with that Juventus are heading towards a managerial change at the end of the season. It's something that's been picked up steam over the past couple of months after their poor run of form. But it's also a situation that Romano says that he believes dating back to January. So they're saying that this potential Allegri out, this whole Allegri out spiel has been essentially at January that they've been discussing of parting ways. So right now, Romano is saying the real candidate to replace Allegri is Bologna manager Thiago Motta, who many believe is the leader in the clubhouse to become essentially. So he is the first option. German Dave will join me in a moment, Vlad. So I'm not entirely alone. We just had to do some schedule adjustments here. So going here with verbatim what Romano has quoted here in his podcast: we keep the Juventus fans posted on the future of the next couple of days and or weeks because important things are coming. We've mentioned many things about Massimiliano Allegri. I will say one more time, as we are receiving many questions every single day, that I remain on my position since January. My expectation and my sources keep telling me that the possibility of Max Allegri leaving Juventus at the end of the season, despite having one more year of contract, it is more than concrete. It is something to be expected to happen at the end of the season. So Allegri is expected to part ways with Juventus in June. Then let's follow the next steps. Let's see what's going to happen in the conversations. Let's respect the timing of both sides. But at the moment, my expectation remains the same, that Max Allegri and Juventus are parting ways at the end of the season. It's kind of, to be honest with you, when you're reading it versus, like, for example, what the headline was and when you're reading of it now, it's a little bit, I really don't know what to say, because it's a whole lot of nothing out of trying to get something out of nothing. So he's saying it's my expectations that he's out, right? And you have Calcio Mercato saying that, Juve have been talking to other coaches and have let Allegri know that they're talking to other coaches. How about that eclipse, my Dashi? It's like, I don't know. So we had a solar eclipse here happen maybe 30 minutes or so ago. I've seen so many of them. They're just kind of like meh for me. The only thing that I found interesting about the eclipse here is how they're price gouging people for those solar eclipse glasses. I thought it was insane. It's like $1 glasses that people were purchasing and then trying to resell for like $10 for people that wanted to see the eclipse. Gosh, just stupid shenanigans. Boom, boom, guys, my eclipse. I shall play that when German Dave gets here. But reports on Sunday from a less than reputable Italian outlet suggest that Allegri is more than definitely out come at the end of the season. Romano is the first of the big guns to indicate what he thinks, as well as his sources. Juventus will be in the market for a new manager come 6 or 7 weeks, regardless of the Coppa Italia and whatnot. Motta, who has been at Bologna since August of 22, has yet to hold any sort of contract contacts with the club. His current deal is set to expire at the end of the season, with other big names around Europe, most recently Manchester United having interest in the 41-year-old. Really, Man United want Thiago Motta? Like, don't they have anything better to do? I just find that absolutely hysterical here. Uh, Obviously, I'm just quoting the black and white all over just because it's an English article that has it and I don't have to translate it. So, what do you guys think in the chat? More so, what's your guys' thoughts on this potential air quotes Fabrizio bombshell of Allegri leaving at the end of the season? Honestly, at this point, there's a whole lot of nothing, right? You can stir up all of this stuff. They've stirred it up last season. They've stirred it up this season. I think for me, where I'm totally convinced on what's going on is if Juventus posts the Grazie Allegri picture on Instagram or Twitter or wherever, where you know for sure that they're leaving. Because I think the one thing that we've noticed, because the difference between Beppe Morata's Juve and this kind of Juve is Beppe Morata had some people that he was close with that he would always leak news and stuff, and that's why all the articles hit. But in general, it's now so when it comes to transfers or things in general, none of these guys have really hit per se. The only last hit was more so Fabiana Della Valle, where she broke the Dusan news before it actually became a reality. But like even with like the Pogba, the Di Marias, all these other things, it's just oh yeah, now when like common sense, it's going to be 99% done. It's been done. So I don't know because when you're saying, and this is kind of like one of those things that journalists do, right? So and so is expected to go out, right? They're not saying so and so is going out, but when you say we're expecting this person to be let go, it kind of gives them plausible deniability if it doesn't happen. So I just kind of find this in breaking this down, right? And I don't like to overanalyze this stuff, but it's one of those things where it kind of begs the discussion, right? When you're saying that it's something that's expected to happen at the end of the season, you're essentially telling yourself, I don't know. Right? It's hypotheticals. Hypothetically, he's supposed to leave at the end of the season. Will he? We don't know, right? I think the one thing that folks will have to understand if this managerial change does happen, you got to be careful what your expectations are. It's the truth, right? If Mota is somehow able to work magic with this current roster and somehow, make Locatelli into an actual regista, which I am very, very on the downside of per se. I don't believe that's possible. And I know German Dave wants to cook on that, so I will save that for when he gets here and we'll review the game. Is he, what happens with Fajoli? What happens with Rabiot? What happens with some of our defenders as well? Because if Mota comes in, Mota's not playing a 3-5-2. What happens to Chiesa? Because there is rumors of a potential swap with Bayern Munich for Chiesa and Xerxes. That is a possibility there. So what happens there? Kostic, there's going to be a lot of pieces. So I will say this, when we're looking at it from an opinion-based thing, when we're looking at this, if you do decide to change coaches to Mota, I'm going to tell folks expectations for next season, if Mota is in charge, is top 4. That's it. Nothing else. In all honesty, there is no win the league, maybe win the Copa. That's really going to be his main objective, and win the Super Copa if we win the Coppa Italia. But Champions League, there's not going to be much of an expectation. Maybe just get out of the group. That's really the bare minimum. And also, you're going to be in a transitional period where the first couple of months is going to suck. Either you're going to take off really well, burn out at the middle point of the season, or you start off pretty poorly and then you pick it up at the end. So you got to be careful and also temper your expectations. And German Dave is here, so we'll let him in. Hey, buddy.
I just
wanna-
want to take this moment to acknowledge my tribal chief Roman Reigns,
Going
who
into
just
retirement.
headed the greatest WWE championship reign in the history of WWE. Yeah, man. The man lost his title, but he's always my head of the table. So I will acknowledge him. And I hope either he finally retires in peace, but I think he will come back better and stronger than ever.
Yeah, he wants one more go with the Rock. So, I saved the Fiorentina stuff. I kind of broke the Romano news that came out about a half hour to an hour ago about Allegri
Yep.
expected to leave. Like I said, I've mentioned it to the chat here. I would relax. It's again, they're talking in hypotheticals because they're saying he's expected. It's not a guarantee that he's out.
Yep.
If he's out, he's out. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Then we adjust the expectations and we look at what's going on. Because, like for example, if you follow the trend that Juve management is going, so everybody's out. Cherubini and Mana are out, so I could understand them thinking, "Hey, Allegri, it's time. I just kind of would rather start fresh, so I'm going to send you out as well." I can understand that. Uh, I think the main thing, because again, Mota is the leader of the clubhouse per se, the first option to sign. I just want everyone to understand, manage your expectations. I think that's going to be the big thing. Because, like I said, there's going to be a couple of players that you're going to need to move. You're going to need to adjust because uh, big news coming out right now that you've actually reported on, German Dave. Sky Sport Italia and Sky Sport Germany are saying that there is talks of a Xerxes Chiesa swap. So
Yep.
if Mota comes, he's gonna wanna bring some of his guys over, and I don't know if the Chiesa lovers are gonna be willing to accept that your boy Chiesa is probably gonna get shipped off to Bayern Munich.
Yeah. So my opinion on it is, like I told you my opinion on Xerxes like a couple of times. I'm not 100% convinced, but if it helps reducing his cost or maybe get him on a straight swap because they are about the same value by now, I personally would be okay with it, I believe.
Yeah, I
Because
think
it would give us a pretty good, and if Vlahovic gets more consistent, actually a great striker tandem.
absolutely, but then that makes you wonder if this coach is Mota. Is Mota gonna adjust it the way that he's playing? Because is he gonna run a 4-2-3-1 with Xerxes behind Dusan, or is he gonna play them simultaneously at the same time? That's going to be something. Obviously, once the coach has actually decided, we'll probably sit down and have that discussion. But right now, the other news that kind of broke this morning / this afternoon, two players that Juve are essentially on the verge of signing. Is the first one's going to be Felipe Anderson. That's going to be coming in. Again, if Felipe Anderson is coming in, that possibly opens the door that Xerxes Chiesa swap might have some more weight towards it, right? The other player as well is Calafiori. Calafiori is Juventus's prime target for 25 to
Yeah.
30 million, being purchased in as well. We're going to see some departures. Most of your departures are going to be dependent on who the coach is. I think right now, Chiesa, despite if Mota does come and Allegri leaves, I think Chiesa is probably going to be the main departure towards the end of the season here. I think maybe Giuntoli has seen enough, and he's kind of like, look, out of here. I don't need this guy.
Yeah. I think it's the lack of consistency because I think the last games he showed what he's capable of, and I know like he's capable of great heights. The problem is that we only see it like in small spurts, and to get that consistency, I would be willing to let him go.
Yeah, and if it means playing a 4-2-3-1 and you have Xerxes and Dusan as a pairing together, Xerxes is kind of like that false 9
Yeah,
or that 10. I think that would be perfect.
yeah,
I think Xerxes could maximize Dusan's potential in the opposite way around. And then you can get some inexpensive wingers, right? You can run Felipe Anderson, you can run Soule. Like, I think it would make more sense
yeah,
tactically if you were to run that. And then you could also get Weah more involved in his actual position. I think
yeah.
at the end of all things, guys, one of these three players will go at the summer. It's either Dusan, Chiesa, or Bremer. It's one of those three. And Vlad also says there's rumors of a Chiesa renewal, right? That's just kind of the thing right now. We don't know what's going on, and we don't know what the report
Hey,
is. We can give our thoughts on it.
right now, the Chiesa to Bayern thing is also just a rumor. I just reported it. We don't know anything actually. It was just a report. It is just a case of that one may actually make sense because Bayern is like trying to rebuild this summer also their roster completely.
Absolutely. So I've covered most of the big articles or the big news tidbits. Obviously, Torino continued to ask a high fee for Buongiorno, which, whatever, right? Vlad kind of mentioned it'd be funny if Mota adapts the 3-5-2. I would die laughing as well. I would find that absolutely hysterical.
Dude,
But
I wouldn't die laughing. I think it would be our best lineup and our best like tactical like yeah.
So we'll kind of transition now into the actual match itself that we'll talk about. And that's really most of the big news. Other than that, there's not really anything there unless you if you watched WrestleMania last night, the greatest WrestleMania in the modern era. Man, absolute nuts. German. I think you know what we'll do just for scheduling purposes. We'll probably cover that and the Monday Night Raw after Mania tomorrow. We might just do a quick podcast and we'll meet up and we'll get that. German Dave and I we'll do a review on that one. But yeah,
my Raw will be off the charts as well tonight, and SmackDown maybe as well because with everything, dude, WWE is crazy right now.
Wrestling is cool.
Hey,
so
hell yeah.
That deserves a video of itself. You even got me socked that watched it. Jeff over here is watching it too. But really, though, more so looking at things now, that pretty much covers all of the main news per se, unless you want to believe what Momblano is saying that there's a clash between Max and the club managers, and even a few players, coach isn't protected by the club anymore. Blah blah blah. It is what it is, right? There's nothing more so
but
there.
What is the percentage on it?
I don't know. He doesn't give one.
Oh,
which is ironic.
Give it up?
I guess he's retired. So we'll see per se. So looking at some other things here, here's the interesting thing about the game yesterday. So opening it up. So one of the big things that they're saying is Juventus squeak past Fiorentina to put an end to the winless run.
Oh no.
I
disagree.
I don't know how I feel about that article title, because you watch the first 30 minutes, 40 minutes, there's 5-6 chances. That's not a squeak by. A squeak by is when you only have one shot, one opportunity to make everything you've ever wanted. One moment. Do you capture it? Do you just let it slip? No. That's really kind of when you if there was any team that would have squeaked by is Fiorentina won that match 1-0.
Even if they tied, they didn't deserve the tie, in my opinion.
No, they didn't. They offered absolutely nothing. Like legitimately offered absolutely nothing, and we'll even share it. And I know you want to tear Locatelli a new one, so we'll get into that. But kind of looking at it from a high level, 75% to 25% possession, and Juve had a 1.94 expected goals to Fiorentina's 0.55. So they created half a chance the entire game. 13 shots to 7 shots, only 2 shots on target, similar to Juventus. 3 big chances, 2 big chances missed. It's the moral of the story for Juventus there. But when you look at it here, the narrative that they said Juve squeak by is, I think, is honestly, it's bullshit. Like it really is bullshit. There isn't if you were to say it squeaked by, you did not watch the match. If that's the article that you give, you probably were masturbating or doing something exploit the first 35 to 40 minutes, and then you're just watching the second half. Second half, was it a snooze fest? Absolutely. First half, total opposite. The amount of oh shits that we had, or the amount of offside goals that were called back just because of ankles or back heels being offside. I mean, it's part of football, right? But those opportunities were there. Juve were cutting up Fiorentina's defense like it was absolutely nothing those first 25, 30 minutes. So if you want to sit here and tell me, hey, stats don't tell the whole story, sure, they don't, but they open up the conversation. And then if you watch the film, then you supplement it with the statistics and you're like, oh shit, we actually did. We did have the opportunities. So looking at, they had 75% possession. We only had 25%. we barely squeaked by is just lazy writing. It's like Vince McMahon writing. That's how lazy it
Oh
is.
yeah.
Dave, any thoughts before I just go on a monologue?
Oh no, go for it. I am just getting my stats up, and then I will cook after you.
Okay,
Just
perfect.
go for it.
You want me to get the oil and the garlic and the skillet going? I got you.
All right.
Say less. Looking at the performance here on the performance sheet, Locatelli had a decent game. Apparently, according to statistics, I thought he was just hiding
I
behind
don't know.
Bremer.
I don't know to which metric, but okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either. McKennie as well, as a well game. Cambiaso, Cambiaso did some great passes, so I'm a little bit skeptical on what that is. Tech with his amazing save, and Dusan should have had a goal this game. I feel bad for him. Chiesa was kind of mediocre this game as well as per usual. Same thing with Kostic. The back line, Bremer, Danilo and Gatti, I thought had a solid game against this team. Overall, I mean, you can tell from the performance on Fiorentina's side, you had Kadoye and Bonaventura that were really causing issues for Fiorentina, if there was even any to be considered for the most part. Other than that, I think your main shining player is going to be Gatti with the penetrating runs forward. See, maybe it's the yellow card that lowered Cambiaso's rating, but I thought Cambiaso was well. I thought Dusan was well. Chiesa had a good cross into McKennie. I thought McKennie facilitated the ball well. I don't know. I just maybe Fat Mob is just kind of cruel to this game per se. But do you have your stats that you want to cook, or are you still looking for them?
Hold up, I have the stats ready, but my camera turned off. Give me a second.
It just realized how much of a stud they couldn't handle just the absolute just beastliness because Dave just came back from the gym, so he got like a massive pump.
Oh yeah, and also like I just jumped in. I didn't have any tech ready, so bear with me a second.
It's no problemo.
Oh.
So there we go. You're back. So Vlad is coming in saying
There I am.
Kostic had a great game. Shouldn't have been subbed off early. The moment he subbed Illing for Kostic, they started cooking us on the left side. And Kostic offers that defensive stability where Illing doesn't have that. Illing kind of gives you a little bit of a wild card for pace, but just unfortunately, just not good. I thought the other thing too, I thought Charlie was lackluster, Illing was lackluster. Yildiz had an opportunity, but the issue with Yildiz again shows that he's a little boy, unfortunately. So he's just not able to manhandle those really beastly defenders, and that's that'll come with time. So I know you wanted to cook. I got it preheated and sizzling. Go.
So, Dash, your guess. How many touches did our starting midfielders have? Loka, McKennie, and Rabiot. How many touches the whole game?
60
combined.
all three of them.
76.
That's poor. That's usually one for a solid regista has 70 touches.
I can in a minute like look up other registers and what they're passing like.
So who
we
had
didn't
the
have
most
a midfield yesterday.
No, we didn't.
When
three
they
players
were cones. There were cones standing there that got hit by balls. They didn't receive or anything.
So
we didn't have a midfield yesterday.
That's bad. That's really bad. 70 touches.
Kevin De Bruyne averages like 200 per game.
I don't know what
himself.
You want to know how many touches Jack Bonaventura had?
Let me guess. He had 60,
45
to 60.
No, he had more. He just had 77 passes in the game.
Dude, he himself had more touches than our midfield combined.
Yeah, that's what I find ironic, right? So accurate passes from Jack. I've got it here. Accurate passes from Jack Bonaventura, 77. Accurate passes in general, so that's overall. He had 88 touches the whole match.
Hold up.
88 touches.
I got my screen ready as well.
So then we look at our regista. 21 touches.
So Here, my man.
And I'm with you,
You're
Anthony.
back.
I think the substitution for Mondogora and Lopez changed it for Fiorentina. They were able to move the ball a little bit better. Mondogora only had the one shot and overall 28 touches, so he had a similar touch pattern to Locatelli. Locatelli with 21. McKennie had 30 touches. Rabiot himself, 27 touches.
So, look, we can compare it pretty good because all of them played the 90 minutes. All three played 90 minutes this game. All right. Rabiot 21, Locatelli 27, Locatelli 21, McKennie 28. McKennie, the only guy that by a pass produced a shot creating action. The only guy. He had 15 completed passes, which is also trash, but okay. Rabiot, 15 completed passes. Locatelli completed 10 passes the whole game. The whole game. And only look by Rabiot and Locatelli, a single pass that won your room. Like a single progressive pass by both of them. And this was our midfield yesterday.
Are you able to show seasonal averages?
I for
Like
progressive
this, like for
passes,
example, are you able to do this whole stats page, but you can do it for a season, like currently up to date, what the average is for this season?
I think I may. Just give me a second. I check it.
So
Off here.
I'll read some of the comments here and have some fun while you do that. So let's catch up here. All right, German says Kostic was better than Illing. Lazar did score against Inter.
But
Illing
it's
is a
also
bit
not hard to be better than Illing. Sorry, but
it is. Illing is really terrible, and he's just not that good. Right. Gompatro says, let's buy Lazar or Sergey. Depends on who the coach is now. Vlad says, I mean, Locatelli did admit in a post-game interview he's got to touch more balls. No Diddy. Maybe there is a Diddy to it.
hey, maybe there should be a little bit of Diddy to it.
That's I was gonna say that's when pretty much this face here when he says I'm not gonna touch more balls. Maybe, possibly. I think Locatelli should have said that months ago. In all honesty. That guy should be eating all the balls.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Like he's got to get them all. Jeff finds it funny. Gompatro says, yes, Diddy. Yes, Diddy or yes, Lukaku? Let's see what Lukaku thinks about it.
You just wake up and then your heart is just pumping. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, so those moments are crazy.
Jeff says, Diddy with a touch of Epstein. Gompatro hates it. I know. I'm here for it. He's quick and has talent. Oh, this is in regards to Illing. He's quick and he has talent, but he loses the physical duel on both sides of the ball. Once again, Allegri's substitutions are puzzling. I mean, why bring Keane on at that point? Honestly, I think he's just giving him minutes, to be honest with you, Anthony. I don't think there's really any kind of long-term planning or any kind of ideas with bringing Keane in at the end of the minute or at the end of the game. So this is my thing with Illing, and this is one of the things that like a lot of folks need to understand about the formation of Juve currently, right? Everyone wants young players. Oh, we should bring in 20-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds. Like I don't understand with people's fixations with little boys. We made kind of a reference to that yesterday or the day before. I don't understand that because here's the thing: young kids are a double-edged sword. They'll give you a little bit of spurt, some energy, some grit per se because they're kids. But at the same time, they're not physically capable of going against a senior guy. For example, you go out in public, you're a 32, 31-year-old guy that's well in shape, and you have an 18-year-old come at you. 9 out of 10 times, you're dropping that 18, 19-year-old without any difficulty. Especially if you've seen Illing, Yildiz, Miretti. Those guys are twigs. So if you're a Bremer or any defensive midfielder, you're looking at those guys and you're licking your chops. No Diddy. Because you can manhandle those players. Yes, involving the younger players are great, but once the younger player becomes your mainstay piece on your roster, you're kind of in trouble. Because before Ronaldo and Messi beefed up, you want to know, and this is where a lot more aggressive defending was back then. You want to know what most teams did to Messi and Ronaldo, and they still did to Messi to an extent because of his size? Tackle the shit out of him. Be aggressive. Fly swat them. When you look at a lot of our players, they're not that strong. Hell, even Dusan gets a sore back when he gets an elbow to the back and he's out for 2 weeks. With all due respect, respectfully, right? So when you have a team that's completely on players that don't have physicality, the only players that really have the physicality are going to be your Kostic, it's going to be Rabiot, it's going to be Danilo, it's going to be Bremer, and it's going to be Gatti. I still think Cambiaso's kind of in between. Locatelli, I still think Locatelli could get manhandled by a more physical midfielder. So when you have these younger players, that's kind of, you can throw Big Mac, I forgot, respectfully. My bad, Big Mac. When you have those younger players, they're going to get, when teams look at it and they say, hey, this is who they're lining up, they're throwing the big package at you. They are throwing the big package to stop you, which is why, because, like, for example, this is the youngest Juventus we have ever seen on the field. The average age of players on this roster that are playing, 25 years old. This is the only time Juventus have ever had a roster with that much of a young age was when Del Piero was first signed. That is the only time this Juventus has been that raw. No diddy. Is when that happened. And that's what, almost 30 years ago? Practically 30 years ago. So when you're ball playing, you're passing. And this is why I'm concerned about Fagioli as well. Fagioli isn't that physical. Fagioli is very light as well, which is why you need to have a ball playing tank. You need maybe an SMS. You need those players that are aggressive that can handle it. You need a Jorginho who is capable of passing under pressure. Locatelli cannot pass under pressure. Locatelli can't handle pressure in general. He distributes the ball for Bremer to play the regista role, or you had Cambiaso go in and play the regista role. Like, Locatelli can say, I need to grab all the balls he needs. No diddy. But at the same time, it's just like, dude, you're saying this, but you're not doing it. You need to, and this is where, like, for example, Bayern Munich succeeded to an extent, right? Where I don't know what the hell they put in the food over there, but like how some of those players just get absolutely chiseled. They're built and physical. I don't know. Maybe that's different. It's not like that anymore, but
German nutrition.
The German nutrition. We have that all here. They eat the proteins and the broccoli.
I have some German creatine right here.
Let's catch up here with the chat. Vincenzo says, apparently Romano says, yep, I kind of covered that a little bit briefly, that Anderson's a step away. Again, an experienced physical winger. Gompacho, you think Yildiz will get figured out next year like Crava? I don't think there's that much film on him, to be honest. And also, he's growing. Jeff says, listen, Moretti, Yildiz, and Illing need to get a loan to Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Big Mac.
They won't see a second.
Yeah. Anthony says, especially Moretti, who I think would be better served in an attacking midfield position, not a midfield three. Young players are fine. Balance is key. Dusan is pretty built. And yeah, you've seen Dusan get manhandled. Danilo got roasted yesterday. He's always been meh. Now the real weak, but now he's a real weak link in a back three. Could you imagine the people that wanted him to play right back?
No, first of all, he's not. He wasn't that particularly good in the second half because Illing didn't help him a lick. Like, Illing was staying just at the front and like didn't do anything to help Danilo. Like, Danilo was always isolated in 1v1s or even was handicapped in a 1v2 because two players were around him, like passing around him, and it's hard to defend that as the single left center back in that case.
Yeah, and that's one of those things you have to take account for as well, right? Like, for example, Kostic doesn't neglect the defensive duties that he has to do, whereas Illing does. Illing kind of gets caught on the top half of the field. And you got to understand, right? When you don't have your wingback covering the space, your defender essentially becomes a left back. Like, Danilo essentially becomes a left back at that point. And any defender, right? Like, for example, the only defender that I think is good on one-on-ones will be Bremer, but like Danilo and Gatti, to me, like if you isolate them and you're one-on-one with an option coming in, they're cooked. They're in trouble because they're trying to delay you, but at the same time, they also have to keep cognizant because there's going to be an imbalance because of the lack of coverage in that area. The reason why, like for example, Gatti doesn't get cooked so often is because you have McKennie and Cambiaso that cover for him. Those two players drop down and they're able to interchange and cover the mistakes that Gatti makes. Where, like, for example, with Danilo, it's more so if Kostic and Rabiot play, that left side looks a little bit better. But if it's Illing, it's going to be whether or not Rabiot is in position or not. And if he's not, then that left side is absolutely toasted.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what happened, basically.
Gompacho says, y'all see Pedri now? He's buff. Let's send Moretti and Yildiz to his trainer. He has to because he tore his ACL. You have to.
And he learned from Lewandowski.
Yeah, I mean, when you injure your knee like that, you have to buff up. Byron players are on that chicken breast, rice, and broccoli diet. Okay. Jeff says, okay, German Dave, I'm coming to Germany to work out in German gyms and bringing my Adidas tracksuit, sunglasses, and vodka for hydration.
Hey, he has my respects. I saw his push there on Instagram. Hey,
I know, I saw it too. He had those Salt Bay glasses. Bro was lifting with Salt Bay glasses in a tracksuit.
Hey, do you know those weird gym videos where people are on the Peloton or whatever cardio fitness machine and are doing like weird stuff, like walking with the weights like that and stuff like that? Hey, that's Jeff.
Jeff reminds me of that bodybuilder or that powerlifter Anatoly that comes in with a janitor like outfit and like glasses, and then like these chicks will be like deadlifting 120 pounds, and then he just comes up and single arm just lifts it over his head. Just
hey, I can't even imagine Jeff's the guy that comes in, in some jeans, a nice, top and something, and then just pump it like that.
We're starting urban legends of Jeff now, but Jeff is kind of the guy that walks in there with like an Eastern European accent where he's like, "Oh, you're doing legs? Oh, it's good, very good. You mind if I do work here? I do the work here," and he just like manhandles the weight, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like, I'm telling you, like honestly, this image is perfect.
That's how it goes, ladies.
Yeah, it's like when it's like right there when she tells Jeff that I can't lift more than 125. Jeff's face about to light you on fire. We love you, Jeff. We love you, buddy.
We love you, man.
Man, overall, so you've got the averages. So what is you got anything juicy here that you want to go over?
So overall, Locatelli played the most passes this season. He tried 1,618 over the whole season so far and connected on 1,383. That is a percentage of 85 actually.
That's right on the midpoint.
The problem is his volume, like his percentage on short passes is 90% because it's all short passes. And we saw yesterday, like the only passes he had were back to Bremer and putting him under pressure. So that's where his 90% come from, unfortunately, because if you go here towards that side, his long passes have a percentage of 70.8%.
That's good.
And that is where we lose the accuracy. Like Bremer has a better long passes average.
Mm-hmm.
The passes per 90. Hold up. The connected passes. Here, my boy. Huijsen, 94%. De Sciglio, 89. But he played half a game. Rugani, 88. 11.3 games though. And Bremer, my guy with 85.8.
And I think the thing that was the most astounding thing, right, is when you're looking at the match and you'd see Locatelli essentially lay it off and you let Bremer drive forward and try to ping passes or facilitate play. And that's
Yeah.
extremely frustrating. Like, for example, that you're not a regista if that's what you're doing. Like, I just think, like, for example, is Loca going through a quarter life crisis where he thinks he's a center back, but he's just forced to play the regista role? Like, honestly, he looks more like a center back than he does a regista.
Yeah. But the problem is, look, all these guys here, except of him, are defenders. Like our top, like passing players, at least like according to overall percentage, all of them are defenders. And I don't know if we see him as a defender now as well. Like for me, he plays like a defender. He plays like a defender that stays a little bit more forward, but the ball like gets passed around him all the time. How many times did we see Bremer dribbling from his own box towards the opponent's box? Because he had the room, because Fiorentina fell back, because Locatelli wasn't a threat at all.
No.
How many times did Bremer like took it upon himself going for those dribbles?
Almost every single time.
How many times did we see tag passing to Bremer or to Gatti even, instead of passing it to Locatelli?
Almost, I want to say
Like
about
he wasn't open for anything, which
No.
of course explains the 21 touches.
No.
As
And it
a
wasn't even
midfielder, 21 touches.
That's
I still
embarrassing.
can't believe it. And this stat is credit to Beppe, because I watched it on his stream. Sorry, I had turn the camera on in a second. He had 4 touches in the second half. 4. 17 came in the first half and 4 in the second half.
That's been abysmal. That's honestly abysmal. No, German Dave's camera has turned off. He did not freeze. Which I'm kind of glad that people are starting to recognize that, though I don't know, it kind of sounds very egotistical on our part, but I think this channel was the channel that's called, and you guys as well, that the main followers of this channel. I think we've kind of been on that before it all broke down, right? Like we've all had like that idea that, we were saying this miles ago, right? Where the midfield Locatelli's not playing the Regista role properly. And then I think everyone else is now finally starting to follow suit with us because, Dave, I think we've been tooting this horn for 2-3 months now.
We were early on this, and like our first problem was the overall midfield production. The problem is that in the second part or the second half of the season, he has regressed so much.
He fell off a
Like
cliff.
with
He didn't
his
regress.
downfall, he fell off a cliff. Like he was stable. He gave us like consistent, like at least 7 performances. So I didn't have a big problem of him, and because he is that deep in our own half. I didn't expect him to have the highest numbers for the purpose that he was fit to. He performed good, in my opinion, and very consistent. And he bailed us out in the game against Milan. So I appreciated actually his performances, but it's incredible how he fell off a cliff. I don't know if it has to do with confidence, if he doesn't trust himself, or if I don't know. I don't know how this happened.
I don't either, unless he comes out saying later that there's an injury or he had an injury or something happened like that. That's the only time I could see.
No, but no, I don't even think that. Our coach and our coaching staff, they won't play a guy if he's not ready. Chiesa, for every single scratch he gets to miss a game. I don't think we would play Locatelli
No.
if he's injured.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. So, Mr. Vlad says Loca is in a pretty big slump right now, but yesterday's stats should be taken with a grain of no, for sure, right?
No,
Yesterday.
the second half, yes. The second half, absolutely, because we let them have the ball. Four touches is still like horrible in my opinion, but okay, like the second half is the second half. Like we had 16% ball possession in the second half. So I don't expect like to have him 200 touches there, of course. But the first half to have only 17, the first half where the ball was moving really good with us. It's crazy to me that he had only 17 touches. The first half for me, we shouldn't take it with a grain of salt because it was, in my opinion, our second best first half performance. Right after Napoli, which ironically, in my opinion, was our best offensive game we had this season. Like with the chances we created, the movements and everything. I think this was the second best offensive game we had.
Yeah, offensively, like when you're looking at it with the amount of production that we had offensively, you would think that he had 25, 30, 40 touches that first half. And then when you look at it, it was only 17. You're like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
who was
And by the
facilitating
way,
the ball movement?
And by the way, the whole midfield was trash yesterday. So it wasn't just him. The problem is just that he should be the guy that is receiving the ball first and then sharing the ball to whoever's open, to either a wingback that is cutting or doing a run towards the opponent's half, or passing it through the midfield, or my God, even try a dribble or something. They didn't even try to mark him. That's my problem. If you are the guy that should be receiving the ball first, you have, first of all, to be in position to receive the ball, which he was not, evident like by the touches he had.
Mm-hmm.
And then he should be the guy that is passing. What was the pass again? I went to the other picture. How many he had? Like 10 passes connected the whole game, or whatever it was.
I think that's what it was.
I'm sorry, but that's inexcusable.
No,
There's no grain of salt, grain of pepper, or whatever to it. It's just a not seasoned broth.
So this is speaking of this here. Corriere dello Sport, take it as a grain of salt here, but a big offer for Chiesa from the Premier League is expected to be made. So anything north of 50, you sell.
Did they mention a team or just
No,
overall?
it's bullshit. It's bullshit. I think again, like I said, anything above.
Oh yeah.
Anything above 50, you cash in.
Yeah.
100% cash in. All right. Really though, it was a good. Again, it was a snooze fest, but it's one of those things where look, we can get through it. We got a point, or not a point, but we won, and we've secured 3 points. I mean, it was an ideal weekend. Bologna drew. I believe Atalanta lost. So as far as the race for the top 4, that's a perfect scenario for us. There's nothing really to be upset there whatsoever.
And can I say something else that made me goddamn angry yesterday?
Go ahead.
Watching everybody like being crazy about how we played the second half. What the hell did they expect? Did they expect that, hey, we need 3 vital points? We need these 3 points to save our goddamn season. We score a goal, and when was it? The past 3 years or 2.5 with Max, when was our identity going for the jugular in a game? When did we risk a result in order to score a second or a third goal? We don't ever risk it. So why the hell did everybody expect us yesterday to go, I don't know, to give Fiorentina some counter on the game?
I don't know.
That's 100%. I'm surprised that we had 16% of the ball. I thought we will sit with the 11 men deep and not just 9 men. We did everything we needed to do to get those freaking 3 points we need, because we need to get to the Champions League places. And Max, and sorry, but nobody at the club right now cares how we get those 3 points. We score a goal and we close the freaking door on the opponent to not let them score and bring those points home. I don't know what everybody. Hey, this is the time of getting W's, and not like all of a sudden like expecting to play some beautiful brand of football or whatever, which we didn't do the past 2.5 years. So what's the expectation?
Top 4.
Yeah, and that's what we are doing with the win yesterday. Can you imagine? We tried to go for a goal. Fiorentina does a counter attack because they have fast wingers, and actually Gonzalez is a pretty good finisher, at least from his Stuttgart days. I haven't followed him that much at Fiorentina.
We were essentially, because we gave that counter to Gonzalez where he hit that and Tech's fingertips saved that. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's the kind of thing. That's the razor's edge when you're living there. But
yeah, but that's all. You have always these small. It was 2 chances. That one by Gonzalez, which he had, and the one that was blocked by Nzola. And if you only concede 2 chances to this good offense to Fiorentina, you have done a fucking good defensive job. And that's what we have done, and that's why we were there yesterday. It doesn't matter if it's a home game, an away game, or whatever. We need those 3 points, and we got them, by the way we know we can play.
it's ugly, but it's
Hey,
potent.
we saw it ourselves. Our defenders are too slow to defend counterattacks or anything. If one ball goes through, we concede a goal. So of course we don't go for the game or for whatever.
No.
That's why we are sitting deep and do what we can do best, defending. And that's how we won the freaking game, won the freaking 3 points. And sorry, but we are right now in a great position to do to get to the Champions League spot, which we weren't 2 weeks ago or even 1 week ago. We were lucky yesterday that that the other teams around us didn't perform either, but we capitalized on it, and now we have, I believe, a 6 or 7 point buffer to Atalanta
With 6 games to go.
with six games to go. So we have
6 or 7,
So-
I think 7. I lied.
So we can now. I hopefully we don't need them, but we have 2 F-ups that we can do basically, and still be clear. And sorry, but I don't expect the others to win every single game. So we are in a great position right now, and that's because of this win. Everybody is crying about that we didn't play beautiful ball. So shut up and take the medicine, and let's get to the Champions League next year and stop crying.
He froze. Oh,
Then
he froze at the stop. He froze at the stop crying. He short. It shortened out on him. He was cooking, and then he shortened out on it, unfortunately. So when we're looking at things here from a table perspective, right, the direct competitors that we have in contention for top 4, so we're at 62. You have Bologna. So you know what? Let me show you the numbers. We'll actually share it here while German Dave gets himself sorted over there. Yeah, got so passionate that he knocked himself out. So looking at the table here right now, so the race for top 4 with 7 games left. You've got us sitting pretty in 3rd place with a 4-point buffer over 4th place Bologna, 5th place Roma at 55, and then you have 6th place Atalanta at 50 with a game in hand. So hypothetically, if they win, they would be at 53, so they'd be 9 points behind. Overall, so out of all the teams that are left here, we're playing Bologna in Bologna and we're playing Roma in Rome. So in theory, going off of the table.
Sorry, my tech betrayed me. They said, "Hey, don't cook them that hard."
I know, you got really passionate and it froze on you because
Oh, yeah.
the bandwidth couldn't handle it. So as David was saying here, that we have the room for 2 fuck ups, right? And out of all the teams that we're contending for in the top 4, there's 2 teams that we have yet to play, and it's Bologna and Roma. So in theory, right, those 2 essentially fall for your air quotes fuck ups if you needed to use 2 fuck ups, because Bologna is 4 points back. Roma is currently 7 points back. So you've got spots to play with. With Roma, you essentially have a 2-game lead over them. With Atalanta, even if they were to win and go up to 53, you have a 3-game lead on Atalanta.
Yep.
So you have 7 games left and you have a 3-game lead. So essentially, you have 4 games where you have to do what you got to do.
And I don't trust Roma to do some sort of a consistent run or whatever. They will have also some games where they tie or whatever.
Yep. So Roma has they've won, they've drawn, they've won, they've drawn, they've won. So their form is pretty inconsistent. So when we let's look at some remaining schedules here for these rosters. So the remaining matches for Bologna is Monza, Roma. So this is a direct clash. You have Bologna, Inter, or Udinese, Torino, Napoli, Juventus, and Genoa. So us playing them second to last game of the season will be a little bit more of a marker per se. Hell, this game might even not matter at this point with how far out it's being played. But this game is going to be a direct match. A lot of these other matches outside of Napoli are throwaway matches. So Bologna loses 1 or 2 matches here, it changes the landscape. And Bologna's form, they were on a hot streak, but look, they've won, lost, won, drew. So they're more than capable. I don't believe that Bologna is going to go on a 7-match win streak. So if we look at Roma and their remaining fixtures, they have Milan, they have Udinese, they have Milan again for the Europa. Oh, this is Europa League matches. I do apologize there. You've got the direct clash
Roma
with
has a hard
Bologna.
schedule.
They do.
Dude,
playing-
Bologna, hold up. Bologna, Napoli, ourselves, and then Atalanta the last match day. Hey,
This is where
it's looking good.
the football hipsters, are going to see if Roma is actually, if De Rossi is really the coach that they think he is. Then we look at Atalanta. So their remaining schedule. So Atalanta's is a little bit easier. So Atalanta have Hellas Verona, they've got Monza, they've got Fiorentina, they've got Empoli, and they've got Salernitana. Obviously, depending on, they might drop some games here within the Europa League stretch because this Liverpool team is a beastly Liverpool team. So it's all going to be dependent on how this first leg goes on the 11th. But Atalanta have an easier schedule, but they're also further back. And Atalanta are not consistent, as you can see the results here. 2-2 draw to us, 2-1 win there, 3-0 win, 1-0 loss, 2-1 loss. And that's pretty much it, because I don't consider, because Napoli at 31, they're way too far out. They're
22 points behind us.
Yeah.
They're now that is over. Like, international football is secure. And in my opinion, even the Champions League is comfortable right now. Like, I'm not even bothered with Bologna or anything if they finish above us. Yeah, it's a little bit more money, of course, the higher you finish, but as long as we're on the Champions League, I don't care if we are in second, third, or fourth, because right now we need that, and we need the Champions League money, and that's the most important. And Roma and Atalanta, like, Roma has for them, horrible schedule. Like, the last 6 games were crazy. And I don't believe that they will win those.
None of the teams are winning out. None of the teams are winning every single match.
And with a 7-point cushion on Roma, with their horrible schedule, we should be clear. And Atalanta has the easiest schedule left, but basically
they're 9 points back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they win, by the way, if they win, and their game in hand is against Fiorentina, so that's not even an easy game.
No.
And right now it's 12 games. And best case for us is if it stays 12. But even if we have only like 9 points on them, it's still we are in a great position right now, and that's because of this goddamn game. So don't complain. Get this season over with, and just please endure the last games in silence.
Yeah, and I know Jeff was asking about Milan's remaining schedule. They have Inter, us at the end. I'm not really. I don't think we catch them unless they have an absolute catastrophic collapse at the end. They have 68.
I don't think about P2 at all right now.
P2 is just essentially you're the first loser. There's not really any merit to that. But overall, these are your 2 direct competitors, Bologna and Roma. Table looks very favorable for us. Yeah. It does. There's not really.
And again, because we won a trash 1-0.
Yeah, what an ugly game. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about the race for top 4 towards the end of the season, barring, even if we were to only get 7 points out of the next remaining matches, that's still favorable.
Yeah.
Still favorable. I've wrapped everything else that I have to say. Do you have anything that you would want to say?
Oh,
Are
I,
you all
th-
set?
I think I got everything off my
Cool.
chest. I have only wrestling on my mind.
All right. Me too. All right. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to start closing this out. We've hit the hour mark. Just some programming or some housekeeping. Obviously, like the video, subscribe to the video or channel as well. We're going to be doing some more wrestling content. So German Dave and myself will do a podcast tomorrow. We'll film an hour-long podcast recapping WrestleMania and the Monday Night Raw after Mania. So if you guys are wrestling fans, there's some more content for you guys to digest as well. We were, as far as booking goes, I think you and I have been spot on. Besides the undercard, we got the undercard matches wrong.
Yep.
But other than that, we were spot on. I think we were quite well with the Damian Priest cash in. I thought that was awesome that we called that perfectly.
That is credit to you. I didn't believe at first that they will do it, but the stage was set perfectly with Punk at the table, and we will go into it.
I laughed.
It was pure cinema. Everything, dude. It was incredible.
So we'll record something tomorrow, and we'll recap that and give our thoughts and discussion. So for you wrestling fans, you can see that. And then Wednesday, we'll be doing the Tinfoil Hat Show. German Dave and myself. Canadian Dave is in Macedonia, so he will be flying. I think today's his last day, so he will be flying overseas to do that, and he'll be back. I believe like 2 weeks or so. He'll be back in because he's come back the 19th, so he'll be back in 11 days. So
and
obviously,
by the way, he came for the perfect time for European weather. We had today 26 Celsius. I don't know what this is in Fahrenheit, but we had sunshine. I walked around with a t-shirt and with sunglasses. It was great today.
Next thing later, he'll run around naked, knowing Dave.
Oh yeah, showing my chest off.
My German chest, the Arnold chest. But we'll kick the music on. Happy Monday. Thanks for tuning in to the day after. Obviously, housekeeping stuff, like subscribe. We'll give you a podcast tomorrow, recapping some wrestling content. Tinfoil Hat Show on Wednesday. And then we'll start going into the match weekend for Juve. It is going to be Juventus, Torino, 12 o'clock, April 13th. 6 p.m. Central European time. We'll see you then. We'll see you more this week as well. And obviously, Forza Juve.